It's a truth universally acknowledged that a sewing woman in possession of Jane Austen literature must be in want of a costume. Well, that's not quite the quote, but I think there is a certain element of truth that those who love Jane Austen also fall in love with the costumes. Book Week that is coming up for 2023 has the theme of Read, Grow, Inspire. And I was thinking there is no doubt that the historical novels of people like Jane Austen, Elizabeth Gaskell, Miles Franklin really have grown me as a person and inspired me in my sewing journey. So I thought, since I don't really get to use the Regency for my yesterday today thing, thought maybe I can use it for my costume at school this year. Here is what I've come up with. And I thought, seeing as this is for a Book Week costume, I would do it in the form of one of those books that I used to enjoy as a kid. Not so much a reading book, but these paper doll books where you could cut out your paper doll and dress her up. So here I have created my Anne Elliot, all ready to go and get dressed for Book Week. So, starting from the underthings, what am I going to have to make? Well, firstly, we will start with a chemise. From what I can tell, it'll be a fairly simple thing. And I might even, if I have enough fabric, make a bit of a fichu collar up there. For the socks or stockings, I might just use white socks. We'll see how we go, and I'll certainly have to think about shoes. On top of the chemise, she will need some sort of uplifting clothing. So, of course, they didn't use bras in that time. They didn't even really have corsets. They had a thing called stays. And there are a few different styles of stays that were used in the early 1800s. It was time of transition. So there were even a thing called short stays, and I may give something like that a go. So then, over this, we will need, as the next layer, her petticoat. Now, petticoats didn't necessarily have to be white, but they were necessary to help give the skirts the right shape and fall. So I will be looking probably to do some sort of a bodiced petticoat, and as a bodiced petticoat, I may be able to use that bodice as well to give a bit of that natural shaping, or I should say unnatural shaping, but the shape that's needed for this era. Okay, so once I've got the petticoat, my next one is that really, really fun layer, which will be the dress. As you can see, very typical high-waisted empire line type dress. So there we go, Anne, you will have something like that. Now, if the weather's a little bit cooler, we might need a sort of jackety layer. And at that time, you would hear a thing called a pelisse. So a pelisse was a type of high-waisted jacket. I could also do just a short jacket that sits under there without the skirt on it. But I was thinking, if I make a pelisse like this, I might be able to make it work in my everyday wardrobe as well. In researching it, I found some of the early 1800s had this sort of asymmetrical hemline, and I rather liked the way they looked, so I might even try to replicate something like that. And then finally, if I manage to get all of that made, I do need to think about some of the accessories. I talked about the shoes already, but certainly I'll need to think about the headwear, which means something like this bonnet, or I might see what other options are out there instead of a bonnet. If it's something that I can use, like a straw hat that I have in my wardrobe already, that might make life really easy. So anyway, we will see. So Miss Anne Elliot, this is the look that I have for you for Book Week 2023. Let's see how we go. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I have a few rules, guidelines, things I'm going to try to abide by while I make this costume. Number one, I'm going to try to post a video each weekend from now in the lead up to Book Week. Book Week is the 19th to the 25th of August. I think our costume day is on the 24th of August. So I'll see how I go getting a video out each week. 2, I'm going to try really, really hard not to buy anything for this project and just make use of things I already have at home. This is something we tell the kids when they're getting their costumes together for Book Week, trying to make sure they're not going and buying the greatest and best costume, rather making their own and putting the money that they would have put towards a costume towards literacy and reading programs for Indigenous Australians. So 2, I'm not going to buy anything. Let's try and use the copious stuff I've got in my stash. Number 3, as much as possible, I'm going to try and sew by hand because that's what would have happened in the Regency time. And as much as possible, I'm going to try and do it while I'm on the train, waiting for my trains, moving to and from school, because after all, it's a school project. Why don't I use this time commuting to and from school to do this sort of thing? And here's one that I think is really good. Number 4, listen to all of the Austen books on audiobooks while I'm sewing. Why not? LibriVox is a great resource out there for people who have put their reading in the public domain for those who need to listen to books rather than read them. So I'm going to access those LibriVox recordings of the Austen novels and listen to all 6 of the main ones, and if I get some of her juvenilia in, even better. And I guess the 5th one is just have fun, enjoy the process, and grow in my knowledge of hand sewing, of Regency costuming, and maybe I'll even have a chance to inspire you along the way. So keep watching. If all goes well, you'll get a chance to see me go through the process of making this full Regency outfit, and I'm really looking forward to being my Miss Anne Elliot at the end of all of this for Book Week. So thank you for joining me on this first part of this journey, and keep looking out for the next instalments. Meanwhile, keep reading, keep growing, inspire others. See you next time.